Is this the best or the worst way to trade? Hi, this is Charlie giving you a midweek video. And so this week I'm talking about some techniques of trading which lots of traders will employ. But is it actually the best or the worst? Because this technique of trading could probably give you something like a 90% win rate. Okay? and and I'm sure some of you already said, I know what it is, I know what it is. This style of trading could give you a 90% win rate. But is there much point having a 90% win rate so you can be right 9 months out of 10, let's say, or 11 months out of 12, let's say, 11 months out of 12, and if in the 12th month you give it all back and more? Is it worth it? There's a really good book called The Hour Between Dog and Wolf, and I would recommend it. It's by Coates, his name is. I think it's Stephen Coates, I think it is. But anyway, can't remember now off the top of my head. Now I'm looking behind me, seeing if I can desperately find the book. Hold on a second. John Coates, his name was. Right. So, and what he did in that book, and I've talked about this before, is they did lots of experiments biologically, measuring people's testosterone levels to start off with, traders at banks to see their testosterone levels going up and down based on their trading performance. And these traders at the banks were used to taking big risks because they had an incentive to make money. So they are paid based on how well they performed, and so of course they would take big risks. And what John Coates found in all of their experiments with some of these bank traders, is that it didn't matter if they made a load of money in 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. He said within 5 years, even the very best performers would then blow up because if they were taking too big a risks, which is what tended to happen, then they would end up blowing up. So my question to you today is based on some information that's come to me just this past week about a retail trader who has done a typical thing, that got into a trade on a market that was coming down. It's not this market, not the S&P. The market was coming down. Actually, I'll use the S&P as an example here. So he sort of got in here, didn't use no stop loss, so no stop loss used. And like so many retail traders around the world, don't use stop losses because they want to be right. And the overwhelming power of wanting to be right stops them from using stop losses. Maybe they even started out using stop losses, found that they kept on getting stopped out, and the market always comes back, only for them to obviously to have got stopped out. So they then stop using stops. The problem is that in the markets, when you don't use stop losses, is that a lot of the time the market will come back, and that's where I said that 90% that you can be right 90% of the time. You'll have to sit underwater for a while at times, and like this trader that I was just someone phoned me about last week, and but then there's always going to be that black swan event, that singular event, a three standard deviation event type thing, where the market doesn't come back and it carries on going down and down and down and down until you lose your account. And so this trader had 20 odd £1,000 in their account, and ended up nearly blowing a lot. And I'll tell you the story about that in a bit. But so the question is, well, can you make money with it? And the reality is, no, you can't. If you insist on not using stop losses, I guess the only way you can use stop losses if you're managing your risk, in that you're taking tiny position sizes where you can afford to be down 400, 500, 600 pips. And so I guess you could do that, and if you've got an elaborate system where you've got certain trades all offsetting one another, then yes. But I'm talking about manual traders who are taking trades and then because it's going against them, just sitting in and holding on. And you hear manual traders saying, I use a mental stop loss. There's no such thing. A mental stop loss doesn't work, because when you're in the thick of things, you then all of a sudden don't want to come out where you said, oh, I'll definitely come out at this point. I'll use a mental stop loss. I'll come out at this point. And then you don't, because it doesn't reverse, and then it carries on going lower, and then you don't know what to do. And that is the reality. So and it gets worse, because then what happens with retail traders is that they they start to add in as well. So not only do they not use stop losses at all, they get into an original position, let's say on the buy side here, it comes down against them, and they buy some more. Does a bit of a bounce in this occasion. Bought in this occasion, the way I've just done this, that would have actually brought them back into profit, but they're holding on for more profit. Then it rolls down, so they buy some more, and then by the time it gets down here, they're absolutely cleaned out and the whole account's blown up. Very quickly, when you do that type of adding, unless you're, again, very mechanicalized with it and still using risk management, you will get blown out of the water. And again, this is what happens. So this is typical of what goes on all around the world. It frustrates the hell out of me because I see retail traders doing it. I even see money managers doing it, and money managers blowing up clients' money as well, which is quite disappointing to hear as well. So if you've got any examples or stories you want to add to this video, by all means do add some comments down today. I'm sure you probably may have even had some experiences yourself with this, or know someone who's done this sort of thing. But the problem that we have, the problem is that a lot of the time you'll get away with it. If you get in and you don't use stop losses, and if you add to your positions as well, they will bounce, and you'll end up making some money or getting out of trouble. But if you don't have, you can do it that way, but you have to trade really, really small in order to allow yourself to add into the positions. So a lot of the time, you might only make very small amounts, and then occasionally have these massive hits. So my rationale behind it is, for the majority of people, unless you've got some very elaborate system, which is in 20, 30 offsetted trades at a time, so some are hedging against others, then it will lose you money eventually. And anyone can say to me, and I've met so many individual traders, no, it works, Charlie, I've made money for the last 6 months, or I've made money for the last year. Well, I've just seen someone who was making money for the last 3 years who's just blown up. So I don't think it does work, and I've seen so many people like that, and this person knew what they were doing. So my thought process, as always, is, unless you have a hard stop in place, and unless you trade at really small amounts, you won't make money doing that type of thing. Most people don't. They say, oh yeah, I'll come out at a certain point, but they don't. So is this the best or the worst? I would say it's absolutely the very worst. The system with the 90% success rate is the very worst, because ultimately you'll lose a lot. What's the point in making money over 1 year, 2 years, even, like I've just said about this other guy, 3 years of what looks like good performance, only to blow it all up? I shall leave that with you for this week. I hope you have a nice week. Kim's doing live trading this week, but I'll do a Saturday video anyway, so I'll see you then. Take care for now.